Hey guys, hi. मेरी आवाज आ रही है? Am I audible? Hello. मेरी आवाज सुनाई दे रही है? Hey guys. Hi, 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 hi. What's up? What's up? What's up? Awesome, awesome. तो सबसे पहले तो यार एक काम करो, जल्दी से जल्दी वीडियो लाइक करो. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. वीडियो लाइक करो. Everyone, please like the video. मेरे को वेट नहीं करना है. Whosoever is here, we'll start in another 2 minutes. 2 मिनट वेट करते हैं, तब तक मैं थोड़ा चाय पी लेता हूँ. अरविंद इज फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम. उमंग इज हियर. क्या बात है उमंग, बहुत बढ़िया बहुत बढ़िया बहुत बढ़िया बहुत बढ़िया. यार कब करा रहे हो तुम 100 के सब्सक्राइबर्स? यार तुम पोस्ट नहीं करते. आई वॉन्ट यू टू ऑलवेज 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 वॉन्ट टू. जल्दी जल्दी करो यार, इसको 100 के कराना है. जल्दी जल्दी 100 के इन द नेक्स्ट 6 months. दैट्स व्हाट वी हैव टू डू. ऑसम ऑसम. ओ आकाश सक्सेना इज हियर. अरे क्या बात है उमंग, तुम तो यार हमेशा पोस्ट डालते हो. बहुत बढ़िया बहुत बढ़िया. आई एम सॉरी गाइस, आई कीप स्पीकिंग इन हिंदी, बट अनफॉर्चुनेटली यार मुझे इंग्लिश ज्यादा आती नहीं है. सच्ची बात है. द ट्रूथ इज दैट आई एम नॉट वेरी गुड एट इंग्लिश, अनफॉर्चुनेटली. छपरी लौंडे होते हैं ना, तो छपरी वो ऐसे ही होते हैं. हे वंशी, हाय हाय. Oh, Akash, thank you very much, man. Thanks a lot. It's all your love. I think the way that we are looking at things, primarily it is because of the fact that I want all of you to start believing in yourself, believing that anything is possible in life, believing that anybody can become a great product manager, believing that anybody can do whatever he desires in his life. Product management is just core thinking, man. Nothing else. और कुछ नहीं है. सोचना अच्छा सीख जाओगे ना, you can become a great entrepreneur, great product manager, great whatever you want to think in your life. So let nobody tell you otherwise. That's what I've kept speaking. Everyone, right? Awesome. Oh, Ajay, first session. क्या बात है. Okay, Ajay. Awesome. Very nice. By the way, my name is Shravan. Shravana नहीं है, Shravan है. But anyways, so हम 1 minute और wait करेंगे. So there are 2-3 things that I want to talk about today, right? So the first thing that I want to tell you guys कि देखो यार, these YouTube lives will always be there, right? This is something that I keep doing for all of you, and I want to do that, and I always want to do that for you because I love teaching all of you. You guys are so amazing that whatever I am little bit in my life, it's all because of you. There's nothing more to it. Then now there is a certain thing about my cohort, right? People typically say that आप cohort आपका expensive क्यों है? Why is it so expensive if you want to democratize product management? See, the thing is that in the cohort, primarily the game is, right, कि I am going to spend like 100 hours with you personally in one-on-one capacity, right? Secondly, I'm trying to bring the best people in the world. Yesterday only, I confirmed a group product manager at Airbnb. Right? So it's not just some very these are people like who have done enormous amount of great product work in their life, right? That is something that I'm trying to bring great mentors who have actually gone through and become product managers, right? So all of those things, it is very hard to manage. And also there is another point, right? Another point that I want to talk about is that इन जनरल क्या होता है ना यार कि देखो, वैल्यू के लिए ना यू शुड ऑलवेज, दिस इज समथिंग दैट आई वांट टू टेल यू, दैट व्हेनेवर यू इन्वेस्ट इन वैल्यू, राइट, वैल्यू ऑलवेज कम्स बैक इन 10x बेसिस, राइट? सो आई वांट यू टू अंडरस्टैंड कि जब भी तुम कोई भी डिसीजन लेते हो ना लाइफ में, एनी डिसीजन, दैट इट्स लाइक बाइंग अ कार, राइट? व्हाई डू यू बाय अ कार? कार तो 5 लाख रुपए की है, 6 लाख रुपए की. द रीजन इज बिकॉज इट एड्स सो मच वैल्यू इन योर लाइफ, राइट? ओके, by the way, I don't know such a pseudonymous name, Historylicious. Okay, so the thing is that Historylicious, you have to go on Airtribe you have to functionally put across your details, and then we will, and please give great answers, because that is the way I can shortlist all of you. I don't know all of you, but jitna bhi main koshish kar sakta hu, I try to figure out the best, that who are those guys who are trying their level best to showcase it to me that they are duly passionate, right? And that is all I want. Trust me, पिछले कोहर्ट के बच्चों के तुम टेस्टिमोनियल सुनोगे ना, तुम पागल हो जाओगे यार. तुम बोलोगे भाई क्या हो रहा है ऐसा, कुछ तो अलग आग लगी हुई है, right? Vamsi, it will come in some time. We are still like, I have over 3,500, 4,000 applications are there, and I am trying to go through, and I don't want to do it just by shortlist. ऐसे नहीं करना चाहता मैं. I really want to give time. I want to build a very good cohort, because this is something that is going to be huge, right? So I don't want you to think about things in life ki I want to give due justice to the application who have put their applications across, right? Ritik, we are still in the process. हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं. In the next 1 week, the overall applications will be out. अभी तो सिर्फ I have just gone through 300-400 applications out of 4,000 applications, because I'm spending time. It's taking me time to go through each application, understand, look at their LinkedIn profile, what they are doing, what they are not doing, right? But please try to understand. If you go into the cohort is not just कि तुमने X amount of money pay कर दिया है तो तुम्हारा हो जाएगा. तुम्हारी जर्नी कोहर्ट से शुरू होती है. You have to put all your heart and soul for the next 2 months. It's like, मैं एक example देता हूँ तुम्हें. How many of you know how a diamond is made? Tell me, right? How many of you know how a diamond is made? Nitesh, I have to ask it to Masters Union folks. I am not yet very clear about it. But how many of you, give me this answer, how many of you know how a diamond is made? Tell me guys. I am asking a question. How many of you how a diamond is made? So a diamond is made when coal is burnt at a very high degree of functional heat, right? So in 2 महीनों में ना लोगों की लग जाती है. मतलब I spent so much time, it is so much stress, right? That in the 2 months, but after 2 months you come out as a diamond. You are able to crack any interview, because then it's not about interviews, it's about enjoying, right? It's about enjoying. You really enjoy the interview process, you move about stress. The best people are those who can perform under stress. Awesome, right? So I want you to understand, if you make that choice, be sincere about it. I'm not here for the money. I am genuinely, मेरे लिए सबसे बड़ा gratification पता क्या है? When somebody comes back and says, भैया आपके वीडियो देख के मेरी नौकरी लग गई. Yeah, I am doing well in my life. That's the biggest gratification I get. There are mothers who have reached out to me and said कि यार बेटा तुम्हारी वजह से मेरा बेटा अच्छा कर रहा है. And that is what gives me so much gratification. It takes, तुम खुद सोचो, संडे को बैठ के मैं लाइव ले रहा हूं, फिर मैं कहीं और सेशन ले रहा हूं, फिर मैं कहीं और सेशन, मेरी खुद की लाइफ तो है ही नहीं, right? So all I'm trying to put across to you guys is that I am doing it genuinely to help you guys, genuinely from the bottom of my heart. And believe me, we will, अगर तुम सब मेरी मदद करोगे, if you will truly give me your heart and soul, we will build something that is going to be remembered for ages. So सबसे पहले वीडियो लाइक करो और हम डिजाइन थिंकिंग में वापस आएंगे. Today's lecture is important. We have to close it by 12:15. ठीक है? Awesome. वीडियो लाइक करो सबके सब. Yes. बहुत बढ़िया. So what I want you to do is, last time हमने कुछ बात की थी. We talked about certain concepts. We talked about what is first principle thinking, what is design thinking, what is product thinking, right? So we talked about a bunch of things, right? What makes sense, what is design thinking. So just to repeat that, first principle thinking is at the conceptual layer, the statements which don't change with time. Even if they change with time, they stay true for a significant amount of time. So that it's like making a building, right? अगर तुम्हारा building का base ही ठीक नहीं है, right? If the base is not correct, will you be able to build something on top of it? No, right? Then once you understand that first principle, right? That like something like value gives happiness. That's the first principle, right? Which will exist like that, right? On top of it, you build something like, what do you say as product thinking? It's a layer on top of it, right? So what is product thinking? Product thinking basically means, how do you think of a product? Because product thinking kahan se aata hai? Product and thinking, right? Product is like vastu, right? Any vastu, anything, any product which improves the user's life by a 10x better experience is typically called product thinking. How does a product in order maximizes user value or business value? Rather ये और नहीं है, ये and है, user value and business value. Because अगर user value maximize होगी तो यूजर उसको रिटेन करेगा. The user will try to repeat that experience again and again, again and again. It's something like if you like eating a dish, for example, कितने लोगों को राजमा पसंद है? By the way, how many of you like राजमा चावल? यार मैं जम्मू से हूं, मुझे राजमा चावल बहुत पसंद है. How many of you know like राजमा चावल? Give me a yes, yes, yes in the chat. जल्दी बताओ, जल्दी बताओ, क्या हो रहा है यार? आज इंटरनेट स्लो है या फिर लोग yes, yes, yes नहीं कर रहे? Yes. So everybody loves rajma chawal, right? Now, when you eat rajma chawal, whenever you get an opportunity to eat rajma chawal alek, right, you try to eat it again. So rajma chawal is adding some value to your life. It's giving you taste, it's giving you comfort, it's giving you a lot of gratification, right? That is what you call it as a product thinking, right? Now, when you have decided that this product is going to add some amount of value, how do you effectively bring that product to people? Right, in the simplest possible way. That is where the design thinking layer exists. Right, design thinking का काम product value से नहीं है. Product value को जल्दी से जल्दी customer के पास ले जाना और bringing that product value to user value in the quickest possible manner is called design thinking, right? So last time हमने क्या discuss किया? हमने कहा यार कि design के basically 4 aspects होते हैं. Right, the topmost aspect is what you see on multiple apps like Grow, Swiggy, Zomato, Airbnb, whatever you are looking at, right? All of those folks are, you see only the topmost layer. It's like the iceberg, right? It's like an iceberg. Now the top of the layer is called visual design, जिसको देख के तुम बोलते हो वाह यार क्रेड का UI तो बहुत ही पसंद है मुझे, बहुत ही अच्छा है, right? तो but that is just the topmost layer. Uske niche there are 3 more layers. The first, the just layer below the visual design layer is called interaction design. Uske niche jo layer hoti hai wo hoti hai information design, aur uske niche hoti hai conceptual design, right? So let's talk about conceptual design first. So let me ask you this question. Whenever you go to an e-commerce website like Flipkart, Amazon, Nykaa, whatever and whatnot, you see the search bar on the top of it. क्यों होता है? बताओ मुझे. Why do you see the search bar on the top of it? Give me, tell me. Yep. Nitesh is saying you're talking about some serious stuff. Anyways, tell me, why does on an e-commerce website has the search bar on the top of it? क्यों होता है? No, easy to find is not the answer, man. Easy to find तो कुछ भी होता है, right? Why specifically they have the search bar on the top of it? आदित्य ने कुछ सही आंसर दिया है, but okay, concept नहीं, ऋतिक obviously वो conceptual design का part है, लेकिन क्यों है? I am asking. So never, first of all, yes. उमंग ने actually Masters Union का lecture किया तो उसको idea है, but yes. So the point that I'm trying to put across is, whenever you go to an e-commerce website, there are 2 aspects there. One is discovery of a product and second is purchase intent. Obviously, right? Now the discovery aspect basically means कि यार कि I want to discover a product. For example, whenever you go to an e-commerce website, क्यों जाओगे? There might be something that you want to buy. As simple as that, right? Now you want the best product in that range, which can fit in the right range, which can fit in the right pricing area, which is a good rating, all of those things, right? So what is the fastest way to effectively get that information? अगर मैं e-commerce website पे search डालता ही नहीं, तो तुम्हें पूरे सारे pages में जाना पड़ता, फिर तुम्हें देखना पड़ता कि कोई ऐसा product है जो कि मेरी specifications को fit करता है कि नहीं करता, correct? And it would have taken a humongous time. तो design के point of view से वो अच्छा design नहीं होता. As simple as that, right? So people built search on top of it, because जब भी कोई बंदा discovery के point of view से जा रहा है, when the person is trying to do discovery at the core of it, right? You will straight away go and say iPhone 13, and wherever it exists in the catalog of the website, it will be in front of you. Is that correct? Give me a yes. Now there is another reason. The reason is because e-commerce website has like millions of product. Flipkart has millions of product, Nykaa has millions of product, Amazon have millions of product. If you even have to find a mobile phone in the millions of mobile phones that are existing on the website, it's very hard, right? There also search exists. So search helps you cut through the sea of discovery. कभी ये सोचा है कि गूगल के कोर डिजाइन जो गूगल सर्च का डिजाइन है वो सर्च क्यों है? Why is it search only? Same reason. Why is Google investing so much money in contextual search? Because they know that people don't realize which product they want, but they know what the intent is. You might not know what shirt do you like. Like मैंने अभी जो ये शर्ट पहनी है ये विराट कोहली की ब्रांड की है. Just saying, flag, swex, flex. ठीक है. But yeah, what I'm trying to put across to you is the reason for that is because people in general know what product they want. Might not know the brand, might not know the price, might not know the rating, all of those things. Right? The fundamental reason for this is that you already have made a decision that I want to buy a car, I want to buy a phone. So that's why search is on top of it. Now let me ask a converse question to you. Why doesn't Google Pay have search? Give me a reason. Why doesn't Google Pay have search? Or even if it has, मेरे को याद नहीं है, but in a very little, मतलब it's not widely discoverable. Tell me, why doesn't Google Pay have search? Right? बताओ, जल्दी बताओ. We need to cover a lot of things today. So, मुझे बताओ कि क्यों Google Pay के पास search नहीं होती? Yes, Nitesh is right. It has one specific use case in general. Yes, it's just one, that is doing a payment. That's their core use case. So why would I put search there? Doesn't make sense, right? Because it only has, मेरे को पता है कि कोई भी बंदा अगर गूगल पे आ रहा है वो सिर्फ पेमेंट करने ही आ रहा है. ऐसा नहीं है कि वो कुछ और फिगर आउट करने आ रहा है कि उसको कुछ डिस्कवर करना है. yes, absolutely right. So समझ में आया? conceptual design in a very fundamental way is the layer in which whenever you think of a product, what is the first thought the customer will have in his head? His or her head. Let's be gender neutral here. His or her head, right? What is the first thought that is going to be in their head, right? That is the conceptual design layer. That is why Google Maps has a map UI. That is why Uber also has a map UI. That is why Flipkart has a certain UI, right? Flipkart has a search-based UI. Google has a search-based UI, right? So it is really dependent on the kind of use case that you're trying to push. ये ऐसा ही नहीं है कि कुछ भी बना दिया. There is a fundamental logic to it, right? So the iceberg bottom layer conceptual design has to do with the core concept you are using to design the product. Ideally, your conceptual model should resonate how the target customers think. अगर एक target customer is thinking of Google Maps and I'm showing some sort of a list there, is that what they will be able to visualize? No. So a product based on a good conceptual design feels intuitive to use. Is that clear? Give me a yes or no on the chat. Is that clear to you guys? कि conceptual design क्या होता है? Give me a yes in the chat and then we'll move forward. Awesome, amazing. Now the next layer is called something that is called information design, right? Information design is the second layer. It is how the architecture of the page is structured, right? Now, why is that important? For example, let me put it, there are two fundamental aspects. Whenever you go to a home page or an application, any application, you're looking at a web page or an app or whatever and whatnot, right? Typically, think of a web page like, अगर मैं एक छोटा सा example तुम्हें देता हूँ, if you go outside your house and you see a billboard, right? Typically, will you notice the top of the billboard or some information at the bottom of it? Billboard is like a पूरा जो billboard होता है ना, जैसे जो board लगे होते हैं marketing के बड़े बड़े banner लगे होते हैं, वो होता है billboard, right? So on the billboard, will you notice something which is completely at the top of it, which is like in the center of it, or at the bottom of it somewhere? Yes. So you'll notice things at the top of it, right? So generally, एक user का the way that they effectively we consume information is typically from top to bottom. That is the typical way. ऐसा थोड़ी ना जब तुम किसी इंसान को देखते हो तुम पहले टांगे थोड़ी ना देखते हो, तुम उसका चेहरा देखते हो, right? And then you move from top to bottom, right? That is how typically. Yes, probably top 1/3, right? So typically your attention span as a user is that you automatically assume that the most important information should be at the top of it. Is that correct? That is by design, that's a human assumption, right? It also depends on the font size, but in general, I'm talking about whenever you go on a web page, right? Why is this entire structure that you always have to look at the top first fold के अंदर ही सारे लोग क्यों? जैसे मैं example देता हूँ. Whenever you go on, for example, you go on a course website, in the first fold, why is there the title? Why is there the core information about the course, right? Like in my Airtribes page, breaking into product management by whom, the core value prop first fold में क्यों है? क्योंकि मुझे पता है कि मैक्सिमम यूजर्स वहीं पे देखेंगे, राइट? सो दैट इज टिपिकली व्हाट यू टिपिकली डू, राइट? सलमान, अगर ये टाइम पास है ना बड़ी, तो यार प्लीज बाकी बच्चों को पढ़ने दे दो, दैट्स फार मोर इंपॉर्टेंट. या सो यू लुक एट इन द फर्स्ट पेज, फर्स्ट फोल्ड ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट, right? So typically once you look at the first fold of the product, it automatically tells that your most information would be there. So as a product manager, from an information architecture standpoint, you try to fit the topmost information in the first fold and then you go bottom, right? So information design typically takes care of the fact that what information should be in the first fold, what information should be in the second fold, based on the importance of the information. It is not like कि यार कि कुछ भी information top fold पे पड़ी होगी और कुछ भी information bottom fold पे होगी तो फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा, right? So that is far more important, right? Now once you move from top to bottom, right, there is another thing that you have to take into account. Tell me guys, what is that another? I think Umang ko pata hoga. So you have seen one more thing. Typically once you go on Amazon, right, what typically happens is that in the first fold, after just niche search, just below search, you see a list of categories, right, which are at an information layer same. The category type might be different, like it can be home, it can be electronics, it can be decor, it can be anything, right? But at a same layer, like at a same row length, right, there are only categories, right? So at an information layer, it is just category specific information that they are doing. Because architecture point of view से अगर मान लो एक category के साथ एक product दिखा दिया, right, it doesn't gel well. Yes. So, but sometimes it happens, there might be a scenario that there might be an independent product also there. That is typically in a case when the product is extremely viral and you want to give it more visibility, right? So the navigation menu should also have a common information structure. Like a category should be aligned with another category. It's not like the first thing can be a category, the second thing can be a product, the third thing can be a brand page. Doesn't work like that. Ideally ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए, क्योंकि if I come on the second page, I should understand that all of these are different categories which will show me a catalog of products. Is that correct? Give me a yes or no, right? Secondly, information design also takes care of how people typically navigate in a website. Because what is a website or a web application? It is a collection of web pages. It's a collection of app pages. Is that correct? Give me a yes or no. It is a collection of app pages. Now, for example, अगर मैं एक छोटा सा example तुम्हें देता हूँ, from home page to the final product, if it takes me 10 clicks, somehow, or from home page to the final product, it takes me 3 clicks. Where do you think there will be more conversion? Where do you think there will be more conversion? So you are on a website, from the home page to the final product that you want to buy, it takes you 10 clicks. And in the second case, it takes you 3 clicks. So information design also takes into account what is the navigation structure that will happen through the website, right? So typically what you see is if I as Flipkart want more people to buy iPhone, so I will just put the iPhone link on the top of the website as an independent thing so that in one click a user is able to reach there. But if I know in general, if it's not a product that I want to promote and I want to build a general structure of the website, so I will ensure that no more than 3 clicks are needed to reach to the final page, to the actually the booking page or the payment page or whatever. Because if I make one click deeper, so it is typically a study done by the Stanford Institute of Interaction Design, that there is a very good institute in Stanford which works on this particular piece, right? That one click added typically leads to 10 to 15% drop off. यार यानी मतलब if there are 4 clicks and 20% users are reaching the end of it, right? In 3 clicks, it will be 35%. Yeah, so historylicious, what it typically means is that if you just look below the search option, right? The first thing, what do you see? Home, home decor, electronics, baby products, whatever. All of these are different categories, but all of them are a category. It's not like home decor के साथ कोई product है. There's an independent product like baby diapers. ऐसा तो नहीं होता ना. So fundamentally it gives a sense to the user that these are all discovery avenues which are going to take me to a category page where I will be able to see curated list of products. Is that correct? Is that correct? Historylicious, is that okay? Did you understand that? Awesome. So information design दो चीजों पे काम करता है. How product information is structured on the page, from top to bottom कैसे information जाती है. Second, what is the navigation structure through the application? So that is why people focus a lot more on building a very seamless architecture. I don't know how many of you are basically from tech backgrounds. I know Abhinav basically, Abhijit is basically from a tech background. So that's why you try to build a system architecture of your application or your website, that how many clicks would it take you to reach to the final page. The lesser number of clicks, the better it is able to discover information. One more point that I would want to add: the more number of clicks that you will make, the harder the discovery will happen from a Google site, right? So one of the channels through which people discover your application is Google. That's the primary channel, their SEO, etc. Now there are bots which basically scroll through your website, through your architecture of your website, right? That how many clicks are there, how many layers of information are there. So the lesser layers of information, the more better it is able to index. So that is why your discovery of your website will be higher, right? ये बात समझ में आई? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no, guys. कि basically the lesser number of clicks, the better indexing will happen, right? So that is why product managers, SEO managers, growth managers, all of them also focus on how the architecture of your website is structured. Awesome. So information design की बात समझ में आ गई? Two aspects. First aspect, how information is structured on a page. Second aspect, how the navigation happens across the application. Awesome. Absolutely. ठीक है? Third layer is called interaction design, right? Interaction design basically determines how your product and the user interact with each other. Interaction design specifies user flows, that what action can a user take at each step and how the product will respond. It also governs how user enter information. For example, in a form. For example, let me ask you this question. If there is a form that somebody has to fill for some value proposition of a service. For example, you want to take a test drive, right? You want to take a test drive of a Tesla, right? Now there is form 1 in which there is name, there is place, there is the type of model that you want, but it is coming as a text field, right? And the fourth part is submit. And there is a second form, name, place, and there is a drop down which shows the list of models and then the submit button. Which flow will have better submissions, 1 or 2? In the first page, it is all 3 fields are text fields where somebody has to write. In the second field, the first 2 fields are text fields, the third field is a drop down. Which one have a better submit rate? Logically सोचो, जहां पे तुम बोल रहे हो बंदे को खुद दिमाग नहीं लगाना, he can discover it out by itself. So is it 1 or 2? So the interaction here basically claimed that if you click on a button, it will drop down, and the interaction is that it comes as a drop down menu and you click on it and something happens, right? Basically you are able to select it across. Absolutely, right? So that happens in interaction design, right? Another example that I want to give you, interaction design also takes care into account some things which are very, very unique to the customer. Like for example, इंट्रैक्शन डिजाइन में जब भी पेमेंट पेटीएम की पेमेंट होती है, राइट, क्या सुनते हो तुम? पेटीएम पर 500 रुपए क्रेडिट हो गए हैं, right? Now that is also an example of great interaction design, so that tomorrow any shopkeeper who is able to, even if he has to confirm the payment, if he just hears that voice, That's how interaction, it doesn't necessarily mean how you just respond on the page. It means how the product is interacting with you. Now that Paytm product is a hardware product. It is basically interacting you with sound. So that sound, that specific sound is one of the nature of interaction design, that whenever you will hear that sound, you will see that the transaction has happened. Is that correct? Give me a yes or no. Another example, Apple के iPhone की जो ringtone होती है, जो notification tone होती है, is it so different, right? So even if you are in a list of 100 people and you don't know who has an iPhone, if you hear that ringtone, right, you are able to understand that somebody has an iPhone. Is that correct? Give me a yes or no. Yes, awesome. So interaction design is basically how the product is functionally interacting with you. पहले हमने बोला conceptual design. Conceptual design is basically how the product, the user will be able to think about it. Then information design, how that information is structured on the page. But अभी तक हमने बात नहीं की है कि how the user will interact with the product. The third layer is the interaction design. And यहाँ पे तुम्हारे UX researchers are very, very important. Very, very important, because they have to fundamentally understand that how that interaction will take place, right? So interaction design happens there, right? There are multiple examples of it, like Mario. Mario में इसका क्या मतलब है? Whenever you effectively play the game Mario and you hear this sound, that basically means you are dead, right? So basically Historylicious, Jira and all of those things, they are not necessarily on the layer of interaction design. We can talk about it, but yes, exactly. Abhijit has rightly mentioned, whenever you hear that sound, automatically it comes to your head that you're dead. Yep, absolutely right. So information interaction design is the place where you effectively design how the product is going to interact with you. When you click a button, some sort of animation happens, interaction happens, right? That particular, like another example I will give you, one more example that I'll give you is when you click on a button, right? There is a loader that comes. What does that loader tell you? Tell me, whenever you click on a button, lot of times on website there's a loader that comes, that ऐसे ऐसे करके loading करके आता है. उसका क्या मतलब है? What does that mean? That basically means that some process is happening on the background, that they are processing some information in the background, right? So that fundamentally tells you that there is some process that is happening. That is also a part of interaction design. Nitesh, it tells you that you've clicked. For example, तुमने click कर दिया और मैंने loader नहीं दिखाया. Yes, for content, Meenakshi, it can be content to come. It can be you are pulling out some data from the background. Absolutely, बिल्कुल correct है. लेकिन अगर मैंने loader नहीं दिखाया, for example, for 5 seconds nothing happens, the user will feel like क्या हुआ यार? मतलब like what happened? He might leave the website. But the loader shows that there is some processing happening. You have to wait on the website. Yes, absolutely right. So that is also a part of interaction design. यहाँ तक बात समझ में आ गई? Is that clear? Give me a yes, yes, yes. Give me a yes in the chat that you understand that what I'm talking about. Give me a yes in the chat, guys, that you're able to understand what I'm talking about. Interaction design clear हुआ? बहुत बढ़िया, amazing. Now the next part that I want to talk about is कि interaction design के अंदर ही ना दो parts आते हैं. The first part is the flowchart and the second part is wireframe, right? So सबसे पहले what is a wireframe? What is a wireframe? Flowchart basically, the first, let's go by one. Flowchart typically tells you that what kind of the core flows that have to happen on a website, like somebody coming on a home page. After, if he clicks on the home page, if he or she clicks on the home page, what happens on the second part? He or she reaches to the category page, then the person clicks on the category page, then he or she reaches to the product page, and he or she reaches to the product page, then there is a purchase statement. So you build a complete flow of it, right? And even in flowchart, you have to fundamentally understand that you have to do different visual representations, right? Like if there is so are you able to see this screen, guys, in which you see that there are certain parts which are colored in a different manner, right? So the parts which are distinctly colored, which are distinctly done, right? Those are those parts which are typically called as the core flows, right? But once you go through this flow and you see there are arrows, arrows मजाक में नहीं बनाए जाते flow chart में. If you mean it's an arrow, whichever direction it's moving means your core flow is moving towards that particular application. So like, for example, you typically come on a flow chart and you see from home I show a bottom arrow to another thing, right? It means that the first step is the home, second step is the second step, which is reaching to the category page, right? But if you reach to this particular part, you see there is at a common layer part, you see 4 different options. What does it tell you? Like step 1, first one, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6, and at step 6 you see 4 options at the same place, like these 4 options. This typically tells that at this particular step you are reaching to that kind of example that I gave, that these 4 steps are same in terms of information hierarchy, that these 4 steps have to be higher. It is, the clarity is low, but I'm giving you some understanding about it, right? The fundamental understanding is that if you move from this to a point where you're reaching to this particular point, are you able to see my arrow, guys, by any chance? So at this particular point, you see there are 4 options, which are basically photo, etc., whatever those 4 things can be, right? These 4 things have the same information hierarchy. So after this step 5, the user can take any of these 4 steps. Does that make sense? Okay. Sorry Umang, अगर मेरा arrow नहीं दिख रहा, next time मैं पता क्या करूंगा, I will try to build an iPad और मैं iPad पे actually लिख के करूंगा. That I think is a better way to do it. I need to still figure out a tool. I need to still figure out a tool. But all I'm talking about is that in a flowchart, if an information is there at a very, very fundamental level, right? At a singular level, like let me try to see if I can zoom it. Ek minute, yaar. Ab, is it visible to you guys? I have made it larger. I have made it full zoom, right? Is it better? Right? Is it better, guys? Give me just an yes or no. I have just made it full screen. Just tell me, is it better? I will elaborate. I know. This is unfortunately, oh, it's not better. कोई बात नहीं. ठीक है. So हम ऐसा करेंगे. For a flowchart from point of view, let me figure out a method through which I can show it on an actual application. Let me just see that if I can share something. Give me a second. Give me a second. Okay. Just give me a second. Share screen. Okay. Let me just open something for you. ठीक है. हाँ ठीक है. Awesome. Guys, are you able to see this tool called Draw.io? Give me a yes in the chat. Okay. Now think of it like this, that this is the first part of a flowchart. I say okay. This is the first part. Then the second part I say in the flowchart, a category page. Okay. Now I make an arrow like this. Just a second. Are you able to see my screen, guys? What am I doing? Awesome. So what this typically tells you, that a user will be able to move from home page to a category page. Now, for example, in a category page, I put like 4 things like this. 1, 2, 3, right? And tell the user that basically from here, you can move at any of these 3 pages. Page 1, page 2, and page 3. In the flowchart, this is page 1, page 2, and page 3. What does this tell you? This basically means that from a home page, the next step is the category page. But from a category page, all 3 fall at a same layer of information design. For example, this can be a category 1, which can be home decor. Home decor. This is electronics. This is maybe baby stuff. But what is important here in the flowchart? That all the 3 are, sorry, a second. All the 3 are categories. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Yes, absolutely correct. Bilkul. Is it correct now, guys? This is a very good tool. The tool's name is Draw.io, where you can build a lot of flowcharts. Awesome. Is that clear to you guys? Okay, fair enough. Let me just quickly go back to the PPT and just a second. Yes. We'll move to the 4th part. ठीक है? So, yep. So a flowchart is able to tell you how a particular interaction typically goes in a flow manner. Flowchart is not a visual representation of basically how the product will actually look. Right? It's just a visual representation of what are the steps in the product, which are the core flows that you want to communicate to the engineering. That's what is typically part of a flowchart. We will do a wireframing session completely, guys. हम सारे मिलके करेंगे. We will do a complete wireframing session somewhere in the coming days. But I just want to talk about design today. Right? Now, what is a wireframe? Now, my question to you is, you see this example of this particular piece, right? What is a wireframe? Does a wireframe tell you how the product looks? Right? Tell me, at a wireframe level, does a wireframe tell you how the product looks or how the product works? Guys, I'm asking you a very good question, right? Does a wireframe tell you how the product looks or how the product works? Yes, absolutely. A wireframe doesn't know, Meenakshi. Wireframe is not a representation because wireframe there are no colors. There are no button types. There are no interactions. It tells you how the product should work. Like if you see a wireframe here, you see that there is something written as score in rounds. You fundamentally would be able to click over here and you will be able to understand that basically this is more like a slider button, right? It tells you that, or if you click on this Bertha, if you click over here, it typically tells you that it is more like functionally like up something that can be taken away from that particular game design, right? Or a contact design, right? So a wireframe is typically a way to showcase how the information should look like and how the product should work. It doesn't tell you the visual outlook of the product, right? Yes, a wireframe is something that how a product should actually work, right? Now let me just go back to StreamYard and open this across to you, and I will just put it across, add to stream. This is where we'll go back again, right? Awesome. So the next part that I want to talk about today is the last layer after and we will do a complete session on wireframing, guys. Don't worry about it. हम करेंगे, हम पूरा सेशन ही करेंगे. अभी हम important बातों को डिस्कस कर रहे हैं कि डिजाइन थिंकिंग के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से चीजें कैसे चलती हैं, right? So the बहुत simple example for you is that the final part of a design layer is called a visual design. Visual design is like the tip of the iceberg. the part which is most immediately obvious to anyone, it is also called graphic design, the look and feel, right? And it also shows you that basically how does a product actually look like from a color standpoint, from a typographic, from a font standpoint, from a graphic standpoint. Because if a product is not aesthetically appealing, ऐसा नहीं होता कि aesthetic layer is not important. If a product is not aesthetically appealing, it also doesn't help you. Two things. One, you remember the joy of usage wala layer जो मैंने बताया था. So aesthetic greatness of a product defines the joy of usage of the product. That's one. Second, it also brings visual hierarchy in your head कि यार कि अच्छा ये product ऐसा दिखता है, right? Whenever you go on Swiggy, right, you remember the first thing from a visual standpoint are the banners, which are Instamart banner, etc., that comes from a visual hierarchy structure point, right? And the third part is it contributes to the ease of use, right? Three parts from a visual design perspective. One, that basically it gives you aesthetically pleasing appeal, right? Which is very important in a product. If that doesn't happen, you will not enjoy the product. तुम्हें अच्छा नहीं लगेगा, right? Second, it also reinforces that visual hierarchy. If your product is very aesthetically appealing from a color, typographic, etc., all of those standpoints, then you would functionally be able to understand that what is the visual hierarchy. You will remember stuff. Third, it contributes to the ease of use, right? Okay, Constantine has fundamentally asked that how does interaction design differ from navigation portion of the information design? Interaction design is basically how, if you click on a button, right, or you click on any part of the product, right, what interaction should happen. Information design tells you there should be a button there. But if you click on a button, what interaction should take place should be a part of interaction design. बात समझ में आई? Information design should tell you how the information is structured, right? Yes, absolutely. So basically, information design is something that tells you how the information is structured on a page. Interaction design typically tells you whether how that information is structured on a page, and you click on a button, right? What should happen, right? What is the interaction that happen? So Rahman is asking, you are confusing about wireframe, mockup, prototype. Unlike a wireframe, a mockup looks like a finished product or prototype, but it is not interactive and not clickable. Absolutely. हम उस पे आगे बात करेंगे ना रहमान. That is something that we will talk about. What you're talking about is in the next slide, that basically how you look at the fidelity of a product. So just try to understand what I'm trying to put across. Information design is how the information is structured. Interaction design is how that information structured when the user interacts with it, what should happen. And the final layer is visual design. Visual design is a layer how the aesthetic appeal of the product would be. The color, the typographic, the graphics, all of those things, because it adds 3 points. One, aesthetically appealing, you will always like to enjoy the product. You will enjoy that from a delight perspective. Second, it reinforces visual hierarchy. Third, it also brings ease of use. It brings remembrance that I liked, अरे यार उस product का UI तो इतना अच्छा लगा यार, वापस जाके वहीं करने का मन करता है. Cred ने इतना अच्छा UI क्यों बनाया है? And why don't you typically go to HDFC Bank's typical app to do your payments? One of the reasons they focus so much on design is because you should like that experience, right? Give me a yes or no. Awesome. Anjan, interaction design is a part of user experience. All of those 4 things are part of user experience. If you have a great interaction design, but your information design is bad, it doesn't mean that your product is bad. It means your product is bad. Understood. Awesome. Now we will talk about some core design principles, right? The first principle that I'm talking about is something called a proximity principle, right? So objects which share same characteristics in design are similar importance than unrelated items. Like for example, the buy now versus add to cart, right? If there is a buy now button, हाँ भाई रहमान भाई, हम आगे चलेंगे. 2 मिनट रुक जाओ, 2 मिनट के लिए समझने की कोशिश करो. I understand you might understand that particular piece, but let me just make it clarification for other guys also. Now अभी हम core design principles पे बात करते हैं. The core design principles are, the first principle is the proximity principle. Objects which share same characteristics are designed are similar importance than unrelated items, right? What I mean by that is the same color, the same the same font. If there are two buttons, for example, let me give you a very simple example. If there are two buttons, in one button there is basically, it's of bigger size, it has a brighter color, and it typically shows buy now, and there is another button which is add to cart, which is a smaller size, which has a lesser color, and it also has a not a deeper font. Which button will have more importance according to the product? The first button or the second button? First button has a bigger size, a brighter font, and primarily a deeper font, right? And the second button is a smaller size, a smaller font, and primarily not that deeper. So first one, right? Obviously. So logically, what you now that if you see two buttons similar like that, now there are two buttons. For example, enroll now ke do buttons hai. It is on one page of the website and it is on another page of the website, right? So in that scenario, those two items are of similar importance, right? What I mean by that is, if there are two objects which share same design characteristics, unki functional business importance is the same. Does that make sense? तुम्हें वो जोक समझ में वो आता नहीं है कि यार इस बटन को बड़ा बना दे यार, ज्यादा लोग क्लिक करेंगे, right? So basically, if two particular icons or two particular assets on a particular page, say if it typically shows same characteristics in terms of visual hierarchy, in terms of font, in terms of color, they are of similar importance. That is what is called typically as a proximity principle, right? Second, the visual hierarchy, right? Visual hierarchy is also important, that determines the elements on the page and what is typically considered as visual hierarchy. We will talk about that, right? So there are some composition in a design. Number one, the design should feel like unified, right? If there is a particular design, like let me ask you this question: why do you think CRED has a material design and everything seems like that it's a part of a single page? Why does that happen? Have you seen the CRED application, guys? Give me a yes or no. Have you seen the CRED application, guys? Give me a yes or no. Right now, in that application, what you fundamentally see, that it seems like that it's a common page and everything is emanating from that. So the design is unified. It doesn't feel like there are three different sections which are coming outside from three different elements of the design, right? So basically the unification part of it, right, that basically this is functionally, the page should look like that it's a unified page. It should not look like that there are three different sections of the page which are looking independently, tino alag lag rahe. Does that make sense? Consistency. So unity is very, very important. Second, contrast. Is there enough variation in color, size, arrangement to create visual interest? My point here is, if there is not enough contrast, like for example, if the background is black and the button is also black, right? If the background of the particular page is black and the color is also black, and there is another page with the background is black and the button is white or red, what makes sense? Where will you click more, one or two? So there should be enough contrast in the color, size, arrangement to create visual interest, right? Third part, balance. Have you equally distributed the visual weight? ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि first page में button is like of 500 pixels and in the second fold the button is of 20 pixels. So there has to be enough balance in the design, right? So there has to be a limit to which the size of the asset can go, and there has to be a limit to which the size of the asset can decrease, right? Absolutely. Yes. Sachin is absolutely right. Accessibility would also have to play important role. Bilkul. Absolutely. Yes. Correct. Now the fourth part is the use of space. Tell me this one interesting thing, guys. I'm asking you a very interesting question. Why do you think Google ने कभी भी अपने search page पे, they have just put the search part there? Because if there is enough space in a design, it looks decluttered. It looks like that you would be functionally be able to use the space in a better manner so that the information looks easily readable. For example, on a page, there are on a particular page, you see only two elements, right, which are equally distributed in space. Very well, there is a great background space, and there are two particular buttons, right? Now, in that scenario, or would you be able to better understand the product, or on a page where there are multiple sections in which there is less space given to the background, right? Give me this very interesting understanding. So use of space is also very important. So four aspects: unity, contrast, balance, and use of space, right? Unity means the page should be unified. It should look like that it's part of one design. Second, there should be enough variation in between color, size, arrangement so that readability is good. Third, balance. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि there is one button which is of 500 pixels and the second button is of 20 pixels. There should be enough balance in the size of the page. And fourth, there is use of space. There should be enough background space, or enough distribution, or enough space between two assets for people to better understand what is the value of a particular action. राइट सो ये चारों चीजें बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होती है डिजाइन में. दैट्स व्हाई डिजाइनर्स, यूजर एक्सपीरियंस, ग्रेट यूजर एक्सपीरियंस डिजाइनर्स आर हार्ड टू फाइंड. राइट, एब्सोल्युटली ऑसम. यहां तक बात क्लियर है? गिव मी अ यस और नो गाइस. So the first principle we talked about, the proximity principle, in which we are saying the assets of similar importance are of similar characteristics. If there are two assets who have the same size, same color, same font, they are of similar importance. Second, visual hierarchy depends a lot more on four design principles: unity, contrast, balance, and use of space. Right? ये चारों important है. ये चारों अच्छे से करोगे तो there will be a great visual hierarchy that will be built. Right? Next, another thing that is very, very important nowadays is something that we call as responsive design. Now, what is responsive design? Responsive design basically means, now today in this world, we don't interact with most of the applications in just one way. Right? We interact with a mobile phone, we interact with a desktop device, we interact with a TV, we interact with probably a tablet, right? Now, as a designer or as a product manager, you don't want your applications to break in these multiple applications, that you if only build it for desktop, और जब मोबाइल में वो बंदा खोलेगा तो वेबसाइट फट जाएगी. ऐसा होता है? Right? Give me a yes or no. When that person is typically trying to open, lot of times what you see is that a particular application has a great interface in a desktop site, but as a mobile site, it's not that good. Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. So nowadays, most people typically try to make something that is called as responsive design. Responsive design basically means that the website will automatically reorder itself to fit the right viewport. What I mean by a viewport is fundamentally the size of the page, right? The size of the screen interface. It automatically responses or reorganizes itself so that it is able to become very, very easy to understand on any type of interface. So most of the designers today have a structure so that they try to build that design, or product managers today build the design in such a way that it is responsive. It can work across multiple interfaces. Right? So you don't have to rework the effort. पहले क्या होता था? आज से go back 10 years, people had to design a desktop website in one way, mobile website in one way, tablet website in one way. So responsive designs allows users on different screen sizes to see different versions of your user interface. The design responds to the user screen size, usually the width. You start by determining the screen width, and then you put breakpoints. कि अगर मेरे screen की width is only 10 pixels, then it should break like this. If it's 20 pixels, then there should be three more information points that should come across. So designers try to break the screen. You must have seen a lot of designers on Figma trying to break the screen in multiple parts. Like for a mobile device, this is the information should be structured, wrapped like this. For a desktop device, the information should be wrapped in a slightly larger way, right? Absolutely. Responsiveness is something how page appears on different screen sizes, desktop, mobile, giving the same experience, right? Now, one more important point, which typically people miss a lot. Copy is also part of great design. right? So lot of times people think design का मतलब होता है यार हमने icon वाइकन बना लिए, but copy is equally very important part of great design. For example, let me put it this way: if on a website it's written that pay and become a product manager, and in a website there is written pay and become a successful product manager, right? Where would you pay bet? Where is the propensity of a user to pay more? Yep. Give me the propensity that basically if on a web page it's written pay and become a product manager as the first option, second option pay and become a successful product manager, where do you think people are going to click more? Right? Absolutely. So copy basically means the actual text that you put on the website, and if your copy is great, that's why there is so much demand of great copywriters. Absolutely. Absolutely. So there is so much demand of great copywriters because copy also influences the design in a very good, very important way, right? The better the headline, the better chances to convert. Awesome. So we understood this. Now, one more very important part that I want to talk about today is that why today most companies have a very strong design gap. What is a design gap? A situation where their great UX design are just not present. Most companies either have a product team and a UI team. There is no UX team in between. And what happens at the point of it is that product managers typically give their requirement. There is no conceptual design. There is no thought on information design. There is no thought on interaction design. Typically, there is only visual design. And you end up making a website just showcasing information in any random way, and people don't convert. So if you even have a hypothesis, your design layer is not present. Right? So most companies typically have that kind of a design gap, right? So it doesn't just mean that if you have a great visual design, your product will be successful. You will have to work a lot more on the design layers. And one more thing that I want to talk about, conceptual design is still towards the ideation part. As you move from conceptual design to visual design, you have finalized the product, you have moved towards execution. So I typically call a team which has 4 essential skills, right? The typical A team movie है ना, उनको A team की तरह बोलता हूँ. 1, product management. 2, interaction design. 3, visual design. And 4th is front end. अगर ये 4 चीजें एक पर्टिकुलर पॉड में, प्रोडक्ट मैनेजमेंट के पॉड में अच्छी एग्जिस्ट करती है ना, so you typically have a great chance of building a product. I'm not saying that backend is not important, QA is not important, DevOps is not important. They are all equally important. But for a consumer product, if these 4 elements are typically present, greatly present, a great product management team, a great interaction design team, a great visual design team, a great front-end development team, you will have a great front-end, a great consumer product by all means, right? Most companies unfortunately start feeling this design gap. That's why designers are so highly paid, right? That most people think यार UI designer ले लिया, product manager ले लिया, engineer ले लिया, product अपने आप बन गया. ऐसे नहीं होता. Doesn't work like that, right? So having a great A team is critical. That is why you notice that Cred has invested so much on product designers, right? Because the hardest part is the why part, the conceptual design, the interaction design, and the information design layer. Visual design is equally important, but अगर तुमने वो 3 nail नहीं किया तो तुम्हारा product अच्छा नहीं होगा, right? Awesome. Next. Now this is something Rahman, I am not sure if he is in the chat anymore, I want to talk about. So basically what happens is, you see this graph, right? You see interactivity and fidelity, right? So fidelity basically means how closer to the end product your actual design is. Is that correct? Please try to understand. Fidelity means the higher the fidelity, the closer the product is towards the end product. Is that okay? Is that understood well? Give me a yes. Fidelity, the x-axis basically means the higher the fidelity, the closer to you are to the end product. Give me a yes in the chat if you understood that. Give me a yes in the chat, guys. Awesome. So from an interactivity standpoint, basically there is this graph between interactivity and fidelity. So on the bottom left corner, you see hand sketches. Hand sketches have the least interactivity and the least fidelity. But what is the value of a hand sketch? It is still in the ideation stage. It is like तुम हाथ से बना लोगे और किसी को दिखा दोगे कि सर मैं ये बनाना चाहता हूँ, right? But hand sketches have the best ability to functionally be changed, very easily be changed, right? Second is something that you move towards the as you move towards fidelity, and if you want to keep interactivity less, there are static wireframes. So static wireframes are slightly higher in fidelity, but interactivity is less, right? Then what Rahman was talking about, if you increase the interactivity, and there are multiple tools around it, if you build clickable wireframes and you move to a medium fidelity part, then you also build something called clickable wireframes. They have slightly higher interactivity, slightly higher fidelity. So still it will give you some sense of how the product will work, right? Then after wireframes comes mockups. Mockups basically means wireframe with visual assets. So once you make static designs in Zeppelin, in Figma, in multiple other tools with color, with visual hierarchy, with copy, then you typically make a mockup, right? And once you want to increase the interactivity of the mockup, you move towards clickable mockup. Absolutely. So as you see this diagonal curve from hand sketches to eventually interactive prototype. So basically, as you move from hand sketches to interactive prototypes, you typically move towards the final version of the product. Interactive prototype is almost the final version of the product in terms of interactivity and fidelity. It's like जब तुम किसी दुकान पे जाते हो ना और तुम मोबाइल फोन खरीदते हो तो तुम वो एक बीटा डिवाइस नहीं दिखाता कि सर ये बीटा डिवाइस है, ये यूज कर लो. That is typically what is called an interactive prototype. So interactive prototype is when you have covered all 4 layers of design: conceptual, information, interaction, and final is the visual design. So you are almost clear to the interactive prototype stage, right? Hand sketches are just at a conceptual level. Static wireframes probably at an information and an interaction level. Clickable wireframes at an interaction plus information level. Mockups, interaction, information, visual, right? Clickable mockups, interaction, information, visual. Interactive prototypes, almost the final version of the product. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. So but दोनों के अपने values हैं. Hand sketches की stage में अगर तुमने conceptual design अच्छा नहीं किया, you can change it. But once you have already made the interactive prototype, it's very hard to change. So most of the thinking happens at a hand sketch and a wireframe level. Most of the execution happens at the mockups and the interactive prototypes or the clickable mockups level, right? ये जितना तुम as you move from hand sketches to interactive prototype, your leverage to change the design lessens, it decreases. Does that make sense? Give me a yes or no. Give me a yes or no. As you move from hand sketches to interactive prototype, your leverage to effectively change the product decreases, right? So static wireframes, awesome, amazing. So there are some few different tools that I want to talk about, which are like Draw.io, Balsamic. They are functionally used for wireframing, right? What is the significance between, okay, Ajay has asked, what is the significance difference between clickable mockups and interactive prototypes? So interactive prototypes also take care of the interaction design layer, guys. Like in a clickable mockup, it will just be, if you click on a page, you don't know what the button did. What is the interaction on the button? Did the button put out a loader? Did the button effectively show some sort of a change in the animation? Did do any kind of animation? Interactive prototypes also take care of the animation. Like it is like the actual version of the product, almost 99% of the product. Clickable mockups basically means you click on a page, you go to the next page. You don't know what interaction happened in between. Like for example, if you're moving from page 1, which is like a booking page 2 of a booking confirmation page, like a payment page to a payment confirmation page. In a clickable mockup, you will click, you will straight away go there, right? You will understand that this particular screen leads to this particular screen. But in an interactive prototype, you will also see you clicked on a pay button, some animation happened, then a loader came, and then post that loader, you effectively move to the next screen. ठीक है. So guys, यहाँ अब last part में तुम्हें I want to move towards wireframes and etc. But today, for now, we will stop here. I think we have discussed a lot more about interaction, information. This is the design tool part. Second thing that I want to talk today is, let me just remove this from here, and I just want to come here. The second thing that I want to do is, I will do a complete session on wireframing. If there are any questions by any chance, right? Does interactive, okay, Ashutosh has asked this question. Does interactive prototype leverage any types of engineering effort, a demo of sorts? Yeah, dekho, if you have designs, there are tools built. Like, this is a very common question that people ask me. Like, do you build that prototype using some engineering effort? There are already tools. Like, InVision is a tool which typically will help you build interactive product. It has those interactions built in itself. The tool's name is InVision, InVision, right? So sometimes you use engineering, but most of the times I would recommend not to use it, right? That is something that is very, very important, right? So I think that I answered your question over there, Ashutosh. So guys, okay. Umang has asked another question. Why Bing didn't change design after learning from Google search? Two reasons, yaar. Dekho, Umang, the fundamental reason that Bing didn't invest a lot more on search is because what do you think is the core reason that Google is successful? Do you think it's design, or do you think it's the product layer? Give me a yes. I'm asking you guys a question. Why do you think Google is successful? The fundamental reason their search is successful is because of their relevance. They are great in relevance, right? Design is a layer to enable that. Yes, absolutely. So fundamentally, Umang, Bing was not able to compete at that level only. So unless and until they can compete at a relevance layer, right? वो design पे invest करते ही क्यों? They would have not invested in design. Like, if you know you cannot build a better engineering car than Tesla, will you invest on the aesthetics of it? Or will you invest on how people interact with it? Because you know there's a 10x better version which already exists in the market, right? So that is why the search itself is an inferior product, and that is the reason उन्होंने सोचा यार कि ठीक है. Absolutely. So that is why they effectively didn't invest. That's my hypothesis, right? अच्छा, ओके. सो हिस्ट्री लिशियस इज सेइंग, श्रवण प्लीज एक सेशन एंटरप्राइज B2B प्रोडक्ट्स में पीएम क्या करता है उनके लिए भी लेना. दैट विल बी रियली हेल्पफुल, एज आई हैव रिसेंटली एंटर्ड एन APM इन. आई विल डू दैट यार. B2B प्रोडक्ट्स के लिए भी मेरे को एक सेशन करना है. सो एक और चीज गाइस, वन मोर हेल्प आई नीड फ्रॉम ऑल ऑफ यू. आई वांट यू टू गिव मी अ लिस्ट ऑफ टॉपिक्स, राइट? आई विल डू अ पोस्ट. कौन से टॉपिक्स हैं जो तुम्हें जेन्युइनली कवर करने हैं, हम उनको कवर करें. जैसे वायर फ्रेमिंग इज वन, tools is another, that how do you use product analytics and all of those tools, तो हम वो भी कवर करेंगे. थर्ड पार्ट कि B2B सेटअप्स में कैसे काम होता है, तो we will be effectively be able to do that, right? So today I think this is where we stop. Thank you very much guys. One more thing that I would say is that in the cohort, it is not about the information that I'm giving you ना, ये information यही है, राइट? ऐसा नहीं होता कि इंफॉर्मेशन की बात है. कोहर्ट में मैं आपको छोटा सा एग्जांपल देना चाहता हूँ. इंफॉर्मेशन डजंट चेंज, कॉन्सेप्ट्स आर द सेम, राइट? ऐसा थोड़ी ना कि कॉन्सेप्ट में बदल सकता हूं कि फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल थिंकिंग को मैं चेंज करके कुछ और बता दूंगा, राइट? द ओनली थिंग दैट इन द कोहर्ट इज दैट यू गेट वन टू वन टाइम, right? You get a community access, you get access to great educators, right, who effectively come and mentor, and वहां पे तुम्हारी learning 10x जल्दी grow हो जाएगी. So both the YouTube platform as well as the cohort, both are going to make you successful in life. Both are going to make you successful. The only thing is YouTube पे तुम्हें खुद शिद्दत फाइट मारनी है, बहुत फाइट मारनी पड़ेगी, सारे असाइनमेंट करने पड़ेंगे, खुद से उनको करना पड़ेगा. फिर मेरा टाइम लिमिटेड होता है तो मैं शायद चेक नहीं कर पाऊं, फीडबैक स्लो मिलेगा, ये सारी चीजें होंगी, राइट? सो पीपल कैन इफेक्टिवली गो टू एनी प्लेस फ्रॉम दिस कंटेंट इटसेल्फ. लेकिन कोहर्ट में वही चीज क्या होगा, तुम्हारे नेटवर्क्स अच्छे बनेंगे, तुम्हें कम्युनिटी एक्सेस मिलेगा, तुम्हें तो वही जो तुम्हारा रेट है ना, एक जगह जो जैसे dy/dx होता है ना, द रेट ऑफ सक्सेस is far more higher in the cohort. Like it's like 10x higher. The reason for that is because you're getting personal time, you're getting personal access, you're getting access to great speakers. जैसे मैं बता रहा था कि I'm bringing a very good friend who is a group product manager at Airbnb to speak as the first speaker of the cohort, right? I'm trying to build the best product people in the world to give you the best community experience. To मतलब पिछले कोहर्ट में तो लोग दोस्त बन गए थे यार, वो दारू वारू पीने साथ में चले गए थे, ऐसी हालत है, राइट? यार उमंग पढ़ना पड़ता है, मतलब इट इज जस्ट हाउ दे टिपिकली. या ऑसम ऑसम ऑसम. So guys, please like the channel. We have to hit 100k this year. That's my aim. Please put out posts, whatever you have learned from the channel. Lots of love. I'm always there for you. Always there for you. Absolutely. Or कभी भी you are able to. The only reason I'm not able to reach out to a few folks is मेरे पास time नहीं होता यार. सच में. मतलब I'm putting so much hard work into this. नहीं, there are no prerequisites for the cohort, Arvind. The only thing that is a requisite is your hard work. Cohort का ये मतलब नहीं है कि तुम वहां पे पैसे दे दोगे और तुम पीएम बन जाओगे. कोहर्ट इज द स्टार्ट. तुम्हें जान मारनी है. 2 महीने तुम्हारी ऐसी तैसी हो जाएगी, लेकिन वो 2 महीने के बाद यू विल बी अ एंटायरली डिफरेंट पर्सन. पीपल हैव चेंज्ड यार. लोगों के डायनेमिक बदल गए हैं. मतलब चीजों, लोगों के सोचने का तरीका बदल गया लाइफ के बारे में. पीपल हैव मूव्ड इनटू गूगल, माइक्रोसॉफ्ट, नेटफ्लिक्स, so many other places, right? जहां मैं भी कभी शायद ही मेरा कभी होता है, right? Awesome. So guys, I'm switching off. Please like the video, please share it across, please subscribe to the channel if you already haven't, and please do LinkedIn posts, tag across, get more and more feedback. Lots of love to you. We will do consistently, keep doing sessions. I'm there for you, and do let me know what sessions do you want to do. So I have few in my list already. Low code, B2B, then product analytics is there, and wireframing is fourth. Awesome. Shuru, you have to go on AirTribe. Yep. And you will be able to see. Awesome. Bye guys. Take care.